Thranduil belongs to the Sindarin elves who survived the ruin of Beleriand. In the early Second Age, his father Oropher led a group eastward. They settled in the Great Forest, later known as Greenwood the Great. They disliked the dominion of the High King in Lindon, so Oropher chose to rule independently among the woodland folk. Thranduil, his son, learned many lessons of leadership in those years, watching how Oropher united Sylvan elves and Sindar under a single banner. The forest was vast and mostly free of open threats then, though distant rumors of shadows lingered to the south. When Sauron re-emerged, Gil-galad and Elendil forged the last alliance of elves and men, summoning all to war. Oropher brought a large but lightly armored force of Sylvan elves, not wholly trusting the Noldor. Thranduil followed his father onto the plain of Dagorlad. The battle proved costly. Oropher fell there, leading his troops forward before Gil-galad gave the signal. Many woodland elves were lost in that first charge. Thranduil survived, though wounded, and witnessed the final siege on Barad-dûr. When victory was at last won and Sauron overthrown for a time, Thranduil returned home with only a fraction of those who had marched under his father. In mourning, he chose to establish his realm anew in Greenwood, assuming the title of king in place of Oropher. His subjects revered him, for though he was young by the standards of a leader, he had seen battle at the edge of Mordor and endured that horror. Greenwood remained free of open war for centuries, but the forest gradually darkened. Men began calling it Mirkwood, for an evil presence seemed to issue from Dol Guldur in the south. Thranduil observed strange creatures appearing among the trees. Spiders grew larger and more numerous, weaving webs that choked once sunlit groves. Wolves prowled near the elves' borders. The king withdrew his folk into the northern region of the forest, delving deeper underground. He built strong gates and used enchantments to keep the gloom at bay. Among his people, Thranduil became known for proud but vigilant rule. He entertained no alliances with outsiders, preferring to guard his territory with elven bows and cunning. Dwarves sometimes passed near the forest's borders, trading for goods or traveling roads that led east or west. Thranduil carried a memory of old grief from the great battles of earlier ages and the quarrels his father had with the Nogrin. Though not as severe as Thingol's ancient hatred, a certain distance remained. Events might have gone on unchanged, but for the coming of Thorin Oakenshield and his band in the Third Age. They strayed through Mirkwood, ignoring the king's warnings. Thranduil's sentries captured them after they stirred trouble with spiders. The dwarves refused to reveal their purpose, so he detained them. The king suspected some scheme that threatened peace in his realm, or possibly an attempt at stolen treasure. Then a hobbit unknown to the guards played riddling tricks, freeing the dwarves from the halls with the help of barrels cast into a swift river. This quiet infiltration angered the Elven King, for no one had slipped past his domain in such a manner before. When news reached Thranduil that these same dwarves roused the dragon Smaug, he prepared his host, fearing that Smaug might wreak destruction upon the wood. To his surprise, Smaug perished at the Arrow of Bard in Laketown. Thranduil marched with an armed host to the lonely spurs of Erebor, seeking to protect the people of Esgaroth and to claim some restitution for the troubles wrought by dwarvish stirs in the region. The dwarves inside the mountain, with Thorin as their leader, refused to parley. Tensions rose to the brink of open conflict. Then Bolg's orc legions arrived, and events turned to a greater threat. The king set aside his quarrel, uniting with Bard and eventually the dwarves to fight the orcs and wargs. The resulting confrontation is known as the Battle of Five Armies. There, Thranduil's elves distinguished themselves with swift arrows and resolute lines. Thorin perished in the fray, bringing sorrow to all. In the aftermath, Thranduil showed compassion. He placed the Arkenstone dispute behind him, forging a new understanding with the dwarves of Erebor. He returned home with honor, carrying tokens from Bard. He resumed his watch against the creeping shadow in southern Mirkwood. Years passed. The forest grew no brighter. Strange tidings indicated that Dol Guldur power was not truly banished, but only waiting. Certain rumors mentioned that a necromancer lurked there, commanding foul spirits. The White Council, made of wise powers like Galadriel, Elrond, Saruman, and Gandalf, eventually drove the enemy from Dol Guldur, but not permanently. Thranduil's vigilance remained constant. As the War of the Ring approached, Mirkwood faced new assaults. Sauron, rising again in Mordor, let his minions assault multiple fronts. Thranduil's realm in the north of the forest suffered the onslaught of orc and spider forces, driven by the renewed darkness. The elves under his leadership battled fiercely at their gates. The king was never caught off guard. He had long known that evil seldom truly slept. Historians speak of the battle under the trees, when Thranduil's warriors clashed with hordes from Dol Guldur. Thanks to their skill and a cunning defense, they withstood the enemy's fury. When news arrived of Sauron's final downfall, the shadow drew back at last. The victory was earned at great cost, but Mirkwood could breathe again. After the war ended, Mirkwood's name was changed to Erin Las Gallen, or Wood of Green Leaves. Thranduil governed the northern part, while the woodland elves reflowered in peace. He fostered amicable relations with men of Dale and dwarves of Erebor. He had learned from earlier collisions that alliances once forged in shared struggle could yield a lasting peace. Tales say that Legolas, Thranduil's son, later journeyed far beyond the forest, even making friendship with a dwarf. The king, though proud, found contentment in the knowledge that the Age of Men now dawned, leaving space for the elves to guard their secrets or sail into the west. He lingered well into the Fourth Age, maintaining the renewed forest realm. Little is recorded of his final decisions, but it is known that his people, who had once sheltered in gloom, thrived under open skies and rejuvenated woods. No one doubted that Thranduil, who survived wars against dragons and orcs, who ruled with stern grace, remained among the most steadfast guardians of the elven kindreds in Middle-earth. Whether he sailed eventually or chose to remain, remains a tale unspoken by men. Yet the memory of his shining halls and the echo of elven songs in the greenwood endure, a testament to the king who upheld his home through the darkest times. Click below and reward yourself with another fascinating and exciting story.